All right, everybody, welcome back to another deep dive. And today we're getting into the world of business.
Yeah.
With us today we have we're going to be talking about an interview that Chris has had with an entrepreneur named Daniel.
Yeah, I listened to that one.
And Daniel had some really interesting insights. I think some really great advice for people who are whether you're starting a business or you're already in business. I think there was some really great stuff in there.
He had a lot of wisdom to share.
So why don't we just kind of jump right in?
Sure.
One of the things that he talks about right off the bat is cash flow.
Yeah.
And, that's
the lifeblood of any business.
Yeah. I always say, sales cures all.
Oh, yeah.
But really, it's cash flow that cures all.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Because you can have a lot of sales and...
You can have sales but not be getting paid, right?
Right. So, and he talks about this thing called zero-based goal setting.
Yes, and I think a lot of people budget, but this was something that was a little different.
Yeah. So tell me about that. What is?
Zero-based goal setting, I think, is a great way to budget. And he was talking about how you look at your goals and your priorities for the month, and you kind of think about everything you are going to be spending.
At the beginning of the month.
Yeah, so you're allocating every dollar based on your priorities and goals for that month. So it makes you...
So you're not just rolling stuff over.
Exactly. You're starting from scratch every month and you're really thinking about it. And that really helps you to be more intentional with where your money is going.
And are there, things happen, right?
Of course.
Life happens.
Yeah.
What about unexpected expenses? Things that,
Yes, and he actually addressed that, and it's funny that you should ask that because the next thing he talked about was having a contingency cushion.
Okay.
So that means basically having a reserve fund specifically for those just-in-case scenarios.
So like an emergency fund.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, exactly like an emergency fund for your business.
I like that, okay.
Yeah, so that way you're not caught off guard when something happens, and he actually recommends that you have at least 3 to 6 months of operating expenses set aside.
Wow.
Yeah.
In a separate account or something?
Yes, in a separate account.
Okay.
Yeah, just so that way you're prepared, if you have some unaccepted repairs or even an economic downturn or if a client drops out or something like that.
So this is money that you don't touch unless...
Unless you absolutely have to, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that brings a lot of peace of mind.
Breaking the glass in case of emergency?
Exactly.
Yeah, like that. Okay.
Another thing he talked about was getting creative with your revenue streams.
Oh.
And this is something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs overlook.
What do you mean?
Well, they get kind of stuck in one way of doing things. And he gave this great example of a bakery that was struggling to stay afloat, just walk in traffic wasn't really doing it for them anymore. And so what they started to do is they started offering online ordering baking classes. And they even partnered with local businesses to do corporate catering.
So they diversified.
Exactly. And that not only increased their revenue, but it also expanded their reach to a whole new customer base.
Well, I bet it makes them less reliant on,
Exactly. They're not so dependent on that walk-in traffic.
Right. If one thing dries up, they've got other...
Yeah, it's like having all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, I like that.
Right? You want to diversify. So that's something to think about. Like, what could you do in your business to diversify your revenue streams?
Yeah. For our listeners out there, what could you be doing?
Is there an online course you could create, a subscription service?
Yeah.
Or a partnership opportunity?
Yeah. Great advice. Okay. Let's move on to another challenge that a lot of entrepreneurs face, and that's building a team.
Yes.
I know I've definitely had my share of hiring nightmares in the past.
Oh, we've all been there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Daniel has a different perspective on hiring than a lot of people I've heard.
Really?
Yeah. He actually thinks that companies overemphasize technical skills when they're hiring.
What does he think they should be looking for?
This is interesting. He actually thinks they should be looking for something called coachability.
Coachability.
Yeah. And that really resonated with me.
So it's not just what it's your willingness and your...
Right. It's the willingness to learn and adapt and take feedback.
I like that.
Yeah. So he would rather hire someone who's eager to learn and adapt, even if they don't have all the technical skills.
Right.
Than someone who, thinks they know everything and is not open to new ideas or ways of doing things.
Yeah. You can teach skills, but you can't teach.
Exactly. And you can't teach attitude.
Yeah. Okay. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And he argues that, coachable people are going to be more likely to evolve with your business and contribute to that positive collaborative culture, which is what you want. Right. So how do you find those coachable people?
That's a good question. And I think it starts with asking the right questions in the interview process,
Okay.
like really digging deep into, their past experiences, how they've handled challenges, how they've responded to feedback.
So it's behavioral interviewing.
Exactly.
Okay.
You want to look for those people who are curious, who ask questions, who are genuinely interested in learning and growing.
Yeah.
And, it's also about looking beyond just the resume.
Okay.
Look at their personality, look at their values, look at their interests. Do they align with your company culture?
Yeah.
Because skills you can teach, but culture fit is much harder to force.
Right.
So that's a really important part of the process too.
I think I've made that mistake in the past of like, oh, this person's so talented, we can, we can just kind of fit them in.
Right. And then it ends up being a disaster.
Yeah.
Because they're just not a good fit for the team.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got the right people. What's next? Well, and he talks about how building a great team isn't just about hiring the right people. It's also about keeping them engaged and motivated over the long term.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, he talks about creating an environment where people feel valued and challenged and supported.
Okay.
So it's more than just a paycheck.
Right.
It's about providing opportunities for growth and development.
Professional development.
Yeah, like, are you offering training opportunities? Are you encouraging open communication and feedback?
Yeah.
Are you celebrating individual and team accomplishments? Like, those are all things that can really contribute to a positive and engaging work environment.
I've definitely felt that, that need for growth and recognition in my own career.
Oh, absolutely.
It's amazing how motivating it can be when you feel like your work is valued.
Yeah, and that you have the opportunity to grow and learn new things.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about another big challenge, I think, in any business, and that's communication.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
I know I've had my fair share of, communication breakdowns, and it just
can be the worst.
Yeah, it leads to all kinds of misunderstandings and missed deadlines and
frustration. Yeah.
Frustration. Yeah. So what does Daniel have to say about communication?
So he has this really interesting take on it. He talks about radical transparency.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to sharing information with your team.
Radical transparency.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're
being open and honest even when things aren't going perfectly.
Even when you screw up, you got to...
Yes, exactly. Yes. And he believes that when people understand the why behind decisions, they're more likely to buy in and be more invested and contribute their best work.
I like that.
Yeah, and he also emphasizes the importance of regular check-ins,
Oh.
not just for like project updates, but also for relationship building,
Yeah.
Really fostering that sense of connection among team members.
So it's not just, getting together and saying, okay, here's where we are in this project. It's
Right. It's about connecting as human beings, really building those relationships and fostering a sense of community.
That's really important.
Yeah, and that actually kind of ties into the next thing he talked about, which is active listening.
Okay.
And that's a key communication skill.
What do you mean by active listening?
Well, so many of us, I know, myself included, we're so quick to jump in and offer our opinions.
Yeah, or we're thinking about what we're going to say next.
Exactly, or we're just waiting for our turn to talk.
Yeah.
But active listening is really about listening with the intent to understand.
Without thinking about what you're going to...
Exactly, yeah, like really focusing on what the other person is saying, hearing them out.
I know I've been guilty of that in the past. I catch myself,
Yeah, we all do.
I'm already thinking about what I'm going to say before the person's even finished,
Well, he suggests a simple but effective technique, which is when someone's talking to you, put down your phone, close your laptop, make eye contact, and just really focus on what they're saying.
Just be present.
Yes, be present. Give them the gift of your full attention.
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah, I thought that was a beautiful way to put it.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about cash flow. We've talked about building a team. We've talked about communication. Let's talk about another challenge, and that is staying competitive.
Oh, that's a big one.
Because things are changing so rapidly these days.
It really is. It's like trying to hit a moving target.
Especially with technology,
Yes.
Things are changing so fast. What was relevant yesterday is
obsolete today.
Yeah. So what does Daniel have to say about staying ahead of the curve?
He says the key is adaptability.
Okay.
So being willing to pivot to embrace new technologies and trends and to constantly be learning and evolving.
Always be learning.
Always be learning.
So it's about being open to change and not being afraid to try new things.
Exactly. Yeah, like, don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to fail.
Right.
Because that's how you learn and grow.
Learn from your mistakes.
Exactly.
Okay. I like that. And so it's not just about keeping up with the competition. It's about
anticipating what your customers are going to need in the future.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're thinking ahead.
You're thinking ahead. Yeah. You're looking at the trends. You're looking at the data. You're talking to your customers. You're really trying to understand what their needs are going to be and how you can meet those needs.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. And that kind of leads into another point, and that is, sticking with what works versus embracing innovation.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Because there's that, the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
But on the other hand, you don't want to get complacent and you don't want to get
left behind.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does Daniel kind of reconcile those two?
Well, he advocates for what he calls a calculated risk approach.
Okay.
So he uses this example of doing a limited product launch to test the waters, to gather feedback and to make informed decisions before going all in on a new idea. So it's not about like betting the farm.
Right.
It's about taking calculated risks and, experimenting and iterating.
So it's like dipping your toe in the water before you jump in the deep end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. That's a great approach.
Yeah. It allows you to innovate without putting your entire business at risk.
Right. Right. And you can learn from those experiments too.
Exactly. You can learn from your mistakes.
Right. So it's not about, if you don't succeed at first,
right,
try again.
It's about learning from that failure and trying again.
Okay. Let's talk about some growth strategies now.
Yes.
For businesses that are, kind of wanting to take things to the next level.
Right.
What does he have to say about that?
Well, one of the key things he talks about is strategic partnerships.
Okay.
So he really believes that collaborating with other businesses can be a really powerful way to expand your reach.
Okay.
To tap into new markets and to just learn from each other's experiences.
It's like two heads are better than one.
Exactly.
But it's two businesses.
Yeah, it's like peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah.
Delicious on their own, but even better together.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So yeah, strategic partnerships can be really powerful, especially for startups or smaller businesses that are trying to grow quickly.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got partnerships. What else?
Another thing that he really emphasizes is customer retention.
Okay.
Because it's often more cost-effective to keep your existing customers happy than to constantly be chasing new ones.
Right, because you've already, spent the money to acquire those customers.
Exactly.
And if they're happy, they're going to come back and they're going to tell their friends.
Exactly, and they're going to spend more money with you over time.
And that's really the goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you keep your customers happy?
Well, there's a lot of simple things you can do.
Like what?
Like personalized communication.
Okay.
Loyalty programs.
Yeah.
Really going above and beyond to provide excellent customer service. And I think it all comes down to treating your customers like individuals, not just transactions.
Right.
Really building those relationships, fostering that sense of loyalty, creating a community around your brand.
Yeah. So you're treating them like human beings.
Exactly.
Not just,
not just a number.
A number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then he also talks about technology, right?
Yes.
How important that is.
He does. And he talks about leveraging technology to streamline your operations, to automate tasks, and to just gain valuable insights from data.
Okay. And what kind of technology are we talking about here? Are there any like low-hanging fruit that a lot of businesses overlook?
Oh, there's so many like project management tools, for example.
Like what?
Like Trello, Asana. Those are great for keeping you organized, keeping everyone on track.
Okay.
Customer relationship management systems or CRMs like Salesforce, HubSpot. Those are game changers for managing your customer interactions and your data.
Okay.
And then there's data analytics tools like Google Analytics. There are so many free or low cost tools out there that can provide incredible insights into customer behavior.
Okay.
Which can help you make more informed decisions.
So it's about using technology to kind of work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, let's face it, in the world of business, things don't always go according to plan.
That's the truth.
Uncertainty is kind of a constant.
Absolutely.
So what happens when those perfectly laid plans, kind of go awry?
Well, Daniel is very calm and collected about uncertainty, and he actually kind of reframes it as something that's not to be feared, but as something that's just part of the entrepreneurial journey.
Okay.
He actually thinks that it's the unexpected twists and turns that lead to the greatest opportunities for growth and innovation.
So you have to be able to adapt.
Exactly. You have to be able to adapt. And he emphasizes the importance of having that solid decision-making framework in place.
Okay.
So that way, when things do go wrong, you can step back. You can analyze the situation objectively and make decisions based on data, rather than just reacting emotionally.
So it's kind of like that measure twice, cut once.
Exactly.
But in this case, it's, analyze the situation, thoroughly react strategically.
Yeah. Analyze thoroughly, react strategically.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. And so he also talks about contingency planning, right?
Yes, he does.
What does he mean by that?
So it's basically having backup plans in place for those just-in-case scenarios.
So like a plan B.
Yeah, exactly. A plan B, a plan C.
So you're thinking about, okay, what if this happens? What if
Exactly. What are my options?
Yeah.
It's kind of like having that backup generator for your business.
Right.
You might not need it often, but when the power goes out, you're going to be really glad you have it.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's about being prepared.
Yes.
It's about thinking ahead and being able to adapt quickly when things
don't go according to plan.
Don't go according to plan.
Yeah, and that proactive approach to planning and risk management can make all the difference when you're navigating the world of business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's a lot to digest already.
It is.
But we're just getting started.
Yeah.
We've got a lot more to talk about with Daniel, so stay tuned.
Yes, we do.
For part 2
We'll be back
of our deep dive into business wisdom.
Yes.
I think this is really great stuff.
I agree.
So stick with us. All right, welcome back, deep divers.
Yes, welcome back.
We are continuing our deep dive into all of this wisdom that Daniel shared with Chris in this interview.
I love it. I'm ready for more.
Yeah, me too. So last time we were talking about uncertainty.
Yes.
And how Daniel actually sees that as kind of an inherent part of the entrepreneurial journey.
And an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people, I think myself included, we kind of crave that predictability,
Oh, yeah.
But in business, it's just not realistic.
Yeah. You just never know what's going to happen.
Right.
You can plan all you want, but there are always going to be those curveballs.
So how do you deal with that?
Well, Daniel really emphasizes the importance of having a decision-making framework in place.
Okay.
So that when those unexpected things do happen, you can kind of step back from the situation, analyze it objectively, and make decisions based on data.
Okay.
Rather than just, reacting emotionally.
So you're not letting your emotions kind of get the best of you.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to be able to think clearly and rationally, even when you're under pressure.
So he's a big proponent of data-driven decision-making.
Yes, he is.
But what about intuition? Does that play any role in his process?
That's a good question, and actually he does acknowledge the importance of intuition.
Okay.
But he cautions against relying solely on gut feelings.
Right.
He believes that intuition should be informed by data and experience.
So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Between, the data and the gut.
Yeah, that gut instinct. You don't want to ignore it completely, but you also don't want to base all your decisions on it.
Right. It's got to be backed up by something. Okay. He also shares this interesting tactic for making tough decisions.
Yes, he does. It's called the Winnow 10-10 rule. Have you heard of that?
I haven't. Tell me about it.
Okay, so basically it's a framework for evaluating the potential consequences of a decision.
Okay.
So he says, ask yourself these 3 questions. How will I feel about this decision 10 minutes from now?
Okay.
How will I feel about it 10 months from now? And how will I feel about it 10 years from now?
Wow.
Yeah. And it's amazing how that can shift your perspective.
Yeah.
Because it forces you to think beyond just the immediate gratification or fear.
Right. You're not just thinking about the short term, you're thinking about the long term.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, it can help you make decisions that are aligned with your long-term goals and values.
Right.
Even when those decisions are tough or unpopular in the moment.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be using that one.
Mine too. That's a good one.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about staying ahead of the curve in a rapidly changing world.
Yeah.
We talked about adaptability.
Uh-huh.
But, what are some practical ways to stay relevant and competitive, in a landscape that's constantly evolving?
Well, Daniel really emphasizes the importance of continuous learning.
Okay.
He's a big believer in reading books, attending industry conferences, constantly seeking out new knowledge and perspectives.
So you got to stay curious.
Yes, you have to stay curious. You have to stay hungry for knowledge.
Yeah, it's easy to get complacent, you know?
Oh, yeah, especially when you're busy running a business.
But you can't let yourself fall behind.
No, you have to make time for learning.
Yeah, even if it's just 30 minutes a day.
Exactly. Even a little bit each day can make a big difference over time.
Yeah, well.
Well, another thing he recommends is networking.
Okay.
So building relationships with other professionals in your industry, going to industry events, engaging in online communities.
Yeah.
It's all about surrounding yourself with people who can challenge you, inspire you, and share valuable insights.
So you're kind of building your tribe.
Exactly. And you never know where those connections might lead.
Right. A chance encounter at a conference could turn into a...
Exactly. A new business idea, a
Yeah.
partnership, a mentorship opportunity.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the universe works sometimes.
Okay, speaking of mentorship,
Yes.
Daniel talks about the importance of that as well, both seeking it out and offering it to others.
Yes. And I love that he emphasizes that two-way street.
Right.
Because, mentors can learn just as much from their mentees as the other way around. It's all about sharing knowledge, experiences, perspectives.
So it's kind of like a win-win situation.
Exactly. Everyone benefits.
Yeah, I like that.
And he really encourages people to be proactive about finding mentors.
Okay, how do you do that?
Reach out to people you admire, go to networking events, join online mentorship programs.
So don't be afraid to just put yourself out there.
No, don't be afraid to ask.
And I think sometimes people are hesitant to reach out to potential mentors because they feel like they're not worthy.
Oh, yeah, I felt that way before.
Or they don't want to be a burden. But, I think most successful people are actually happy to share their knowledge and experience
They are.
with those who are eager to learn.
They are, especially if they see potential in you.
So don't be shy, just go for it.
Exactly, just go for it.
Okay, let's talk about innovation.
Yes.
Daniel is clearly a big advocate for embracing innovation, but he also acknowledges the challenges.
Yes, he does. He talks about that tension between sticking with what works
Right.
and exploring new possibilities.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. But at the same time, you don't want to get complacent.
And you don't want to fall behind.
Exactly. You don't want to be that blockbuster video when Netflix comes along. So it's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Knowing when to double down on what's working and when to experiment with new ideas.
So you have to be strategic about it.
You do.
Okay.
And he talks about the importance of identifying what he calls your core competency.
Okay, your core competency. What does that mean?
So basically, it's what your business does best. Okay?
It's what sets you apart from the competition.
Yeah.
It's that thing that your customers value most about you.
So it's your unique selling proposition.
Exactly.
Okay, and then what do you do once you've identified that?
He suggests that you focus your innovation efforts
Okay.
on areas that complement or enhance that core competency.
So you're not trying to be everything to everyone.
No, you're focusing on what you do well,
Right.
and you're using that as a springboard for innovation.
So you're playing to your strengths.
Exactly.
Okay. I like that. And you know what? I'm thinking about it. Now, this kind of goes back to that idea of, data-driven decision-making.
It does.
Because, when you're identifying your core competency, you're looking at data.
You are.
You're looking at customer feedback. You're looking at your sales numbers. And you're using that information to make strategic decisions about where to focus your innovation efforts.
Yes, and he actually talks about the importance of customer feedback when it comes to innovation.
Like, he encourages businesses to actively seek out customer feedback and use it to inform their product development process.
So you're not just guessing about what your customers want, you're actually asking them.
Exactly. You're going straight to the source.
Right, and you're using that information to create products and services that actually solve their problems.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that a lot. And then he also talks about the importance of embracing failure as part of the innovation process.
Yes, he does. And this is something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with.
Yeah, because we're all afraid of failing.
Right. And it's natural to fear failure.
But he's saying you can't let that fear paralyze you.
Exactly. If you're not failing, you're probably not taking enough risks.
Yeah.
And you're probably not pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone.
So you have to kind of reframe failure as a learning opportunity.
Exactly. Failure is just feedback.
It's a chance to learn and grow.
Exactly.
Okay. I like that a lot. And, he talks about this idea of failing forward.
Yes, he does.
What does that mean?
So it's about learning from your mistakes, adapting your approach, and using those lessons to inform your next attempt.
So you're not just giving up. you're using that failure as fuel
Exactly.
to propel you forward.
And I love that perspective because it takes the sting out of failure.
Yeah, it makes it less scary.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I messed up, but what did I learn from that and how can I do better next time?
Right, right.
So it's a very positive and empowering way to look at failure.
Okay. So we've talked about innovation. Let's talk about growth now.
Okay.
What are some of the key insights that he shares about how businesses can scale and achieve sustainable growth?
Okay, well, one of the things he talks about is the importance of building a strong brand.
Okay.
He believes that a strong brand is more than just a logo or a tagline.
It's more than just the visuals.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's about what your company stands for. It's about your values, your personality, your promise to customers.
Yeah.
It's about creating a brand that people trust, admire, and connect with on an emotional level.
So it's about building a relationship with your customers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he suggests focusing on creating a consistent brand experience
Okay.
across all touch points.
All touch points. So that's
So that means your website, your social media presence, your customer service interactions, your packaging, everything.
It's about consistency.
Exactly. You want to create a cohesive and memorable brand identity that resonates with your target audience.
Okay, and that builds trust.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. What else?
Well, he also talks about the importance of building a strong company culture.
Okay, so this is internal now.
Yes, this is internal, and this is something that I think a lot of companies overlook.
What does he mean by strong company culture?
So he's talking about creating an environment where employees feel valued, respected, and empowered to do their best work.
Okay.
He believes that a positive company culture is essential for attracting and retaining top talent,
Right.
for fostering innovation, and for just driving business growth.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. I've worked in places where the culture was toxic.
Oh, yeah.
And it was draining.
It's soul-sucking.
Yeah, soul-sucking. It was awful. But then I've also worked in places where the culture was amazing.
Right.
And you could just feel the energy and the creativity.
The motivation.
Yeah, it's a completely different experience.
Exactly. And so he talks about, some tips for building that strong company culture.
Okay, like what?
Things like clear communication, transparency, creating opportunities for employee growth and development.
Yeah.
Really investing in your people.
So it's about creating a place where people want to come to work.
Exactly.
Not a place where they're dreading Monday morning.
Right. You want to create a place where people feel excited to come to work.
And where they feel valued.
Yes.
Okay, and so he also talks about leadership.
Yes, he does.
And I think that's kind of a key part of creating that positive culture.
It is. He believes that leaders set the tone for the entire organization.
Right.
And so it's important for them to model the values and behaviors that they want to see in their employees.
So lead by example.
Exactly. Actions speak louder than words.
Okay, so what kind of leadership style does he advocate for?
Well, he talks about servant leadership,
Okay.
which is a leadership style that prioritizes the needs of the employees
Okay.
and empowers them to succeed.
So it's not about being the boss, it's about being
It's about being a leader who serves.
yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
I feel like we're just scratching the surface of Daniel's wisdom.
There's so much more.
We've got a whole other part to go.
I know. I'm excited.
So stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive into business wisdom.
Yes, we'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the final part of our deep dive into the world of business with Daniel.
So much great advice.
Yeah, no, I've been taking notes like crazy.
Me too.
One of the things that's really stood out to me is just how much he emphasizes
The human element.
Yeah, like it's not just about
The numbers.
the numbers, it's about the people.
It really is. It's about building relationships,
Yeah.
creating value, making a positive impact on the world.
It's not just about the bottom line.
It's not.
It's about, how you're affecting people.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes Daniel so unique is that he has this incredible ability to blend that strategic thinking
Yeah.
with a deep understanding of human psychology and motivation.
And it really comes through, I think, in his approach to leadership.
Yes, it does.
He talks about leadership not as a position of power,
Right.
but as an opportunity to serve others.
Yes, servant leadership.
Yeah.
I love that concept.
And he walks the talk too.
Yeah.
He shares a lot of anecdotes about how he's applied these principles in his own businesses.
He does. He gives those real world examples, which are so helpful.
Yeah. And you can tell he's not just talking the talk.
Right.
He's actually living it.
Exactly.
And he also talks about the importance of leading by example.
Yes, he does.
Actions speak louder than words.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to leadership.
You know your team is watching you.
They are.
They're looking to you for guidance and inspiration.
And they're going to do what you do, not what you say.
Exactly. So you got to walk the walk.
You do. And he emphasizes the importance of integrity, authenticity, transparency, and leadership.
Yeah.
Being honest and upfront with your team, even when it's difficult.
Even when you screw up.
Even when you screw up, yeah, because that builds trust.
Yeah.
And trust is essential for any successful team.
And he also talks about celebrating wins,
Yes.
both big and small.
Both big and small.
Yes.
Recognizing the efforts and achievements of your team members.
Yeah.
Creating a culture of appreciation and gratitude.
Yeah, I've worked in places where, they never celebrated anything.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like,
That-
okay, on to the next thing.
On to the next.
Yeah, and it's so demoralizing.
It is. It's soul-sucking.
Yeah, but when you're in a place where they celebrate the wins, even the small ones,
Yeah.
it just makes such a difference.
It does. It really boosts morale, and it makes people feel good about their work.
Yeah, and they want to keep doing a good job.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what else does he have to say about leadership?
Well, he also talks about continuous improvement.
Oh, yeah.
He believes that leaders should always be striving to learn, grow, evolve,
Never stop learning.
never stop learning.
It's that growth mindset we talked about earlier.
It is.
Embracing challenges as opportunities for learning, seeing setbacks as stepping stones to success.
Yeah. And he encourages leaders to seek out feedback.
Okay.
To be open to new ideas, to constantly be pushing themselves outside of their comfort zones.
So be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he also talks about the importance of self-care for leaders.
Oh, yes. This is so important.
Yeah, because it's easy to burn out.
It is, especially when you're in a leadership position.
You're constantly giving of yourself to others.
You are.
And if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So he emphasizes the importance of taking time for yourself, recharging your batteries, pursuing activities that bring you joy.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of leaders struggle with.
They feel guilty,
Yeah, they feel guilty, like they should always be working.
but it's so important
It is.
to take that time for yourself.
It is, because you're not going to be effective as a leader if you're burned out and exhausted.
And you're going to be resentful.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I'm struck by just Daniel's holistic approach to business. He doesn't just focus on the technical aspects.
Right.
He really emphasizes the importance of the human element, the power of relationships, the need for purpose and meaning in our work.
I think that's what resonated with me the most.
Yeah, me too. It's it's not just about making money.
It's not.
It's about making a difference.
It's about creating something meaningful.
Yeah.
Leaving your mark on the world.
And I think that's something that we all crave.
I think so.
We all want our work to have meaning.
To matter.
Yeah.
To make a difference.
So as we surface from this deep dive,
Yeah.
let's take Daniel's wisdom with us.
Let's do it.
Let's commit to being more intentional, more human-centered, more purpose-driven in our work.
Yes, I love that.
Let's challenge ourselves to embrace uncertainty, to lead with empathy, and to never stop learning and growing.
And to take care of ourselves.
And to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
Because we can't pour from an empty cup.
That's right.
So thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
It's been fun.
I hope you've surfaced with some valuable insights and a renewed sense of inspiration.
Me too.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.